Hello and welcome back, Disruptors, to the 86th episode of the Oligarchy Disruptor podcast with your host, Bennett Leon. And of course, we have Ashley Downing with us as well.
Hi, everybody.
All right. So today we have another amazing episode for you guys today. Ashley, what are we going to be talking about?
So today we are going to be discussing an article from the New York Times. And it's based in general, we're just going to be talking about the states that reopened very early on. A lot of them have been re-shutting down. So we're going to talk about that and kind of why we think that happened and what their numbers sort of look like. And then talk about Illinois, because that's where we are at and what's going on here.
Absolutely. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in to the article that we are going to share with you from the New York Times. And this article basically takes a look at the COVID, like how Ashley was explaining, the whole COVID situation and where we are as a country, right? Let me back out there. Yeah. So as you can see here, you can kind of see it kind of separates it into four different categories. Mm-hmm. So we have reopened, reopening, paused, and reversing. Okay. So reopening is like they're in the process of it for whatever reason. Like it's all pretty self-explanatory. The ones that we're going to really highlight and hit on in this one is the pausing and the reversing ones, because they're much smaller than the other categories. But we just want you to see like where it is, right? So like just take a look at this like visually, right? So like those northern states where we see all the blue and that dark blue, that's the best one. Like these are the reopened states, right? Mm-hmm. Completely reopened. Those are like Midwestern states for the most part. And but for the most part, all blue in the northern half of the country. And where we see,
with the exception of Michigan, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And Michigan's actually in that pausing phase, which we'll talk about, because I also found that interesting. Same thing with Delaware, Joe Biden's home state, which we also find that kind of interesting as well. But you can kind of see across these, like, and you can kind of put the like add two and two together, like, okay, Nevada, Arizona, California, Texas, New Mexico. Like this is kind of like, you're seeing a trend here, right? Like, this is, I think, directly due to the part that a lot of these governors have placed policies that don't protect their own people, you know? Like you heard the governor of, I believe is Governor Abbott in Texas, who earlier, a couple months earlier, I believe in March, he said that old people were willing to die in the name of the economy or whatever, or for the economy. So I'm sure he is eating those words up as we speak. But we're going to go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. And these are all states that reopened early on, which is also, I think, important to note too. And, Arizona didn't have a lot of cases in the beginning, but that was probably just due to lack of testing. We didn't have the thousands of testing sites, in late April in late April that we had in June and the end of May. And these people started opening up mid-May. So I think that that's also like a no-brainer.
So in other words, this is what happens when you ignore science, guys. This is what happens when you put politics before science and the economy before science and health. Your state recloses because there's so, we're going to take a look at the numbers, but they had a surge in cases after they reopened. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at why that is. So, okay, so we have Arizona, right? And as you can see here from this chart, Arizona is not doing so hot. Okay, so it is literally like a straight, like there's no denying that it's going straight up after they reopened. And they reopened, like Ashley mentioned, early on, right? Like as you can see here, like the stay-at-home order was placed April 1st. About a month later, less than a month later, they reopened it or whatnot. Because by the end of June, it skyrocketed to the top, or to near 4,000 cases a day. So yeah.
Yeah, and if you look at all the things that they even had open, I guess this is now, right? What they've closed back up, but some people don't even have all of these places open. And this means that they had all of those places open at one point, if this is what their reversing looks like.
Mm-hmm. And they basically just closed the bars. That's funny. California, another one.
They're like a steady increase too.
Yeah, and this is big, but this is no surprise. It is kind of a surprise because of how much praise that Governor Newsom was getting in the very beginning of the outbreak, with all his responses or whatever to it that was keeping people safe. I guess not entirely, right? Because the proof is in the pudding, right? So we're seeing near 5,000 cases since their reopening. They literally had everything open. No wonder. Look,
that's what I was just going to say.
Oh my gosh. No wonder. Yeah, no wonder, dude. Yeah,
and I think also underneath, if you scroll up just a little bit, it says that Governor Newsom ordered bars in 7 counties to close again, discussing the reversal. But I mean, I think that this is something, and he seemed at the beginning, it seemed like he was doing a good job at having certain areas closed, like LA County, I know stayed closed for a really long time. But the flip side of that is you have people who are in Orange County, which for some people is literally a 30-minute drive from LA County, going from Orange County to LA County. And that's how these cases are spreading, because then they're going back home where they live in Orange or in LA County, where it's not okay to be at these beaches and outside and stuff, and just bringing it back there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that he did it in a very, I feel like if you're going to shut down, you need to shut down areas of the state, not counties.
Yeah.
Or the whole, whatever, LA and all surrounding areas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they could definitely take some lessons from states like our home state, like Illinois.
Yeah.
From Governor J.B. Pritzker, because I believe because of what his policies and what was done here in Illinois to protect the people of Illinois, we were named number 1 for the most, the most decrease in coronavirus cases across the country.
And we have one of the largest cities.
3rd largest.
Yeah.
Very interesting. But we have no surprise here on the reversing. We have Florida, led by Governor Ron DeSantis, guy who loves Trump, big Trump supporter guy right here. And their stay-at-home expired on May 4th. This is a short window for Florida, and this comes as no surprise. And as you can see, it stayed kind of stagnant for a little bit. It stayed kind of low, but it shot up by the end of June, and now they had to pump the brakes and reverse that. As you can see here, they only closed one section of their economy, which was the food and drink places. So that's that. For Texas, another Republican-led state, we have, like we mentioned earlier, Governor Greg Abbott, and he allowed it to go out of order on April 30th.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. And by the end of April, it stayed kind of stagnant, the same kind of levels, more or less, under 1,000 cases a day or whatnot. Completely shot up by mid to late June on well over 5,000 cases a day from that time.
And look at how soon they completely reopened. Most people's gap is a lot larger from the time of reopening, order in place, to the actual reopening.
Same thing with Florida too.
So quick.
These are like political decisions,
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, and they were praised by Trump for making these decisions. He was basically telling Illinois, who's doing the best, that their governor was being weak.
Literally. We actually covered it on this show as well. So let's take a look at the other category, the other smallest category in this list, the pausing section. So Ash, so what's a pause mean in this context again?
So pausing means that they are, I think that they've been in the middle of phasing and they've decided to stop their phasing. So that's why you have some of these that are still open and some of them that are closed. So they were planning on keeping going with the phasing back open, but they are not reopening any more things.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're like, they're pumping the brakes. They're like, okay, they're looking around what's going around them. Like, okay, these cases are going up. Things are going wrong. Things are not going on plan. Okay, let's see what we can do. Let's hold the brakes. Let's stop this shit.
But meanwhile, the things that are already open, they're allowing to stay open pending numbers. They haven't decided really to reverse yet, I guess, is the pausing stage.
That's important to note as well. So like, they're not really like reversing the policies just yet. They're like analyzing kind of phase. It's weird. Well, let's see how that analyzing phase works out for them. I hope it's not too for the sake of their own people. So this one, like you mentioned earlier, is pretty kind of short as well. It might seem that way just because maybe how the chart is made. I'm not sure. Maybe it is kind of short. Other ones have seemed longer, I guess. But yeah, this one is definitely pretty short. Their stay-at-home order went out on May 1st, right? They began opening. Yeah, they began opening on May 1st. So after that, they saw it's kind of like fluctuated for them in Alabama.
But still somewhat on a steady rise.
But still, yeah. And as you can see by the end of June, like the other states, like Texas, like Florida, like all those other states, like California, it's up too. And you can definitely see the reason why they're pausing by just taking a look at those charts. Like we're not going to go over every single one of these, but let's just like, you can kind of make your own judgment based off like how the charts look, like Arkansas, like Governor Asa Hutchinson, a Republican, never implemented a statewide stay-at-home order, instead opting to close high-contact businesses like gyms and personal care services. That's hilarious. And look at them now. That's crazy, dude. That's crazy how these people think that they can like defy God. Like that makes no sense.
They still only have like 500 new cases though, and other ones had a lot more than that. So I guess, rural little Arkansas isn't as bad as some of these states.
This one's kind of interesting that I'm kind of looking at it. Instead of the surge kind of being in the end, it was kind of at the middle.
Yeah.
While their stay-at-home order was in place, this one's odd. But as you can see, this one is kind of misleading. It makes it seem like it's a ton of people, but as you can see here on the right, on the left, that this is a scale of 200 for the first line and 400 in comparison to like thousands, and the other ones, 1,000. This one's 500, 400. So it might seem like a lot, but this is only 400. Keep in mind at this highest level, but it's kind of crazy for them.
And look at how proactive Governor Carney was with this as well, because when you look at this, as you mentioned, the middle, while the order was still in place, is actually when they had their highest number of cases. Since reopening, they've been on what seems like a plateau-ish. He said that it says here that there was, after an increase of cases, he decided to delay the start of phase 3. But the increase of cases looks like it was maybe by like 50, so he just seems like he's playing it very smart, and it's clearly working out for him.
Definitely. Absolutely. I think you played it up perfectly. Couldn't have said it better. So we're going to leave it at that. Now with Idaho, let's take a look at this one. So we have this one being led by a Republican Governor Brad Little. This one looks kind of a little weird too, which is the only reason why I kind of started this one as well. It kind of goes up during their stay-at-home order, like we saw for Delaware. Not as long as Delaware's though. Very fast. It was very short.
Mm-hmm.
We opened, stayed stagnant for about a month, shot up in June. So we're kind of seeing this like ripple effect everywhere, you know, and they didn't close anything really. There's nothing that's not open.
Yeah. Well, and most of these, it looks like, you know, closed early or began reopening earlier on than, you know, areas like Illinois or even Michigan, June 1st. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So like, take a look, like expired June 1st. See, like, that's why we were saying that the other ones were kind of short because like, look at Michigan, you know, like this stay at home order was like, what, 2 months?
Oh, longer. Because it didn't end until June 1st and it started mid-March.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, a long time. So, but
they seem like they're semi-plateauing, which is good though.
Mm-hmm.
They had a surge of cases right after though. Wow. 4,000 something new cases.
Yeah, but and you see like across like all these states that are positive, like all these things that are just like they don't hold back at all, you know. And like look at that, like that's what we were saying that, like look how short this is, you know.
Yeah,
it is short.
May 9th. That's very early.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think, and this is really a good time to mention this too, is it's not just about these governors making the decision to reopen early. This is also just making personally good. Oh my gosh, North Carolina, that's crazy. But this is about people making personal decisions that are responsible and that take to heart everybody in our communities, because the fact that some people will not wear masks when they are in obvious close proximity, like on public transportation or in grocery stores, even when the law says that you have to, that's another reason why these areas are shutting down or pausing. You know, it's not just about the governors making this decision too early.
Absolutely. We also have our own interests, you know, to protect our community. And it's not only on the government to solve our problems. We also have to help out and do our own part. And part of that is wearing masks, wearing the PPE, like when you're out and doing those jobs. So like required touching people's food or being in contact with people at all. Like, it's not for you, you know, like those things that are arguing and like you're seeing on like going viral on social media, yelling at employees because they're telling them to put on masks. Like it's not for you, it's for everyone else around you, you know, like for everyone that you come in contact with, you know. So when you don't wear a mask in public, you're like really, it's just like a big F you to everyone that is around you or that comes into contact with you, unless they agree with you, of course. But
especially because you don't know who is around you that has a autoimmune disease or has, you know, some kind of low immune system. You have no idea, and you not making the simple decision to just wear a face covering is so ignorant, guys. Just do it. Illinois is doing so fabulous. I would hate to see us have to close. We're finally starting to get back to a semi-normal.
And like I said earlier, guys, like the proof is in the pudding. Like if you still don't believe it at this point, like you're like delusional and not operating in reality. You're listening too much to people that are leading you astray. They're misguiding you. They're telling you the wrong information. And like, just like those governors that we were just talking about and how they led to the deaths of thousands of people in those states, ultimately, like that's what can happen like when we don't do like our own shit too, you know? I don't know. Let's go ahead.
I think too that, it's so easy for us to blame politicians, and in the long run, a lot of it does come down to them because they are making decisions on our behalf. But this is so simple, and it's something that a lot of if your governor is not having things like that, though, that's kind of shame on them. But if you could just follow the simple regulations of wearing a face covering, I mean, that's something that you can do. And if you don't do, I mean, we cannot blame the politicians 100% for these states closing again. We have to take some kind of personal responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. And the only thing is that I feel like most people won't, like everyone's going to always blame the politicians. They always play the blame game. And it's easy to blame someone else rather than it is to blame yourself and take responsibility. So it is. Well, and
it sucks, because you want to hang out with your friends. You want to go to parties. You want to, you wanted to do all this graduation stuff, having the graduation parties and whatnot, but like, that's just not smart right now. And we need to be mindful of other people.
And just like take a look at what happened with the other states, like what happened when they try to they thought the same thing as you, like just take a look at what happened, like they thought the same thing as you, the exact same way. And look what happened to them. We just talked about it. They had to reverse their fucking, or their whole program or the whole chart, so it is what it is. If you want to keep subscribing to that kind of backwards mentality of falsehoods and straight up lying, if you want to keep eating that spoon-fed shit from Donald Trump, the GOP and fucking Fox News, the Democrats are shit. I'm not saying that they're good, but at least with this, they're listening to the fucking scientists. And you can see this across the state. That's why I made a point. Ashley and I made a point to mention their political party when we were talking about each state, because that is
the majority of them were Republican.
In the very beginning, we also noted the northern states and the Midwest either reopened or reopening. What are those states? For the most part, they're all liberal states, democratic states. So it's interesting. And where were the states we were reversing? We had Florida, Texas, Nevada. We had California, so that one is like a Democrat or whatever. And there were instances where there's Delaware and Michigan that were paused, in that pause category. So it's not all clear cut. And there are more factors than just the policies of the governor or whatnot. Like you were mentioning as well, we also have our personal responsibility as well. So it's more factors than just that, but we'll leave it at that unless you want to comment on anything else that we were talking about today.
No.
Okay. Well, yeah. So once again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We will wrap it up here. And if you haven't done so already, definitely do follow us on our social media pages. Where can they find us, Ashley?
So we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and all of those, it's Oligarchy Disruptor or Oligarchy Disruptor Podcast. We also have a website on WordPress and all the podcast platforms. So Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, which if you are on Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review if you enjoy listening to Benny and I. And then pretty much every other podcast platform as well. And YouTube, can't forget that.
Absolutely. So with that, we will wrap up here. Thanks again, guys, for listening and watching. We will see you on the next episode.
Bye, guys.
Bye.